also? I forget if you need to do that.
No, I don't have the option when I'm doing it
Cool,
on
cool,
my
cool.
phone.
Well, I got you recorded on speaker view. So
Thank you. All right, everyone. Welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for taking time and coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for having us.
Thank you for having us, man.
The first question I want to start out asking is for everyone here is basically like this is a really good horror film. Like it has a lot of twists. It's like a cat and mouse game. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. And when you first read the script for the film, like what were were your first thoughts on what kind of horror film this was going to be, and of course the roles that you all were going to play?
Honestly, when I first read the script, I didn't necessarily think it was going to be a slasher film because it starts out like it's like a nice little activist, and it starts out so different than what it turns out to be. So I was very confused when I read that first death. And then even still then, you're thinking like not all of them can die, right? But yes, they do. So I was really surprised when I read the whole thing. I was like, huh.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was a film with a strong, or just like solely a strong political message.
Mhm.
And then yeah, things go 0 to 100 really, really fucking quick. And just seem to get worse and worse and worse as we get along. So yeah, I think that was also like what was like so enticing about the story because it like really marries like two different ideas that I would have had of the film together. And yeah.
I
Our
I feel
think
favorite.
like
something which
it
was
moves so quick. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go on, Tyler?
no, you go ahead, Tom. You go
Are
ahead.
you sure? Cool.
Yeah.
It moves so quick, and it read that way in the script as well. And you're reading all these crazy things that are happening, and I was just kind of thinking, how are they going to do this? Like the paint sequence, how are they going to make this work? Um, but it turned out great, so I have to say.
Yeah, I think that was a similar thing for me. It's like when you read any script and it kind of has got so much description and kind of unique ideas and unique themes to it and lots of ideas of like in the script it was like this is going to be shot in the dark. It is all going to be
Mhm.
shot with with fluorescent paint. I was
Yes,
like,
yes.
well, hold on. How are you gonna do that? I don't know how you do that. And I was like, okay, this this is gonna be fun. Whatever it is, it's gonna be a fun and interesting shoot. And yeah, so that was the first thing. And then also reading the dark twists and the dark turns of, the character that I was reading for, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is a guy who's descending into madness. And that could be interesting. And that could be a Lara fun, as they say.
I remember I read the script like on the plane coming back to Barcelona for the callback, and I landed like
Mhm.
1 a.m. or something, and I read the whole thing on the plane, and I arrived and I was just walking alone in the dark, and I remember just being scared because I went into it being like, okay, I'm reading this for the callback that I have, like this is my
Mhm.
job, and I kind of like forgot that it's a horror film. So when I arrived, I was kind of like, oh, okay. And also, I just want to mention that before shooting Wake Up, I would never watch any horror film. I was like, no,
Really?
yeah, it was just really not my thing at all. Now I've been converted. But before that, I was just like, anything could just really scare me. And I was just walking alone at night. And it was, yeah, that was my experience.
I think they
Oh my
call
God.
that exposure therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And Tur Turlo, like is that's how you say your name, right?
Yeah, Turla. Yeah.
Turla. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you play Kevin, who's the night guard and killer who likes to set traps and hunt humans. And how do you how do you get into like Kevin's mind to play like that type of killer, like someone who likes to like hunt his prey?
Yeah, it's super easy for me. It's like second nature. No, no, it's obviously it's very complicated. It's very complex. There was there was a big warming up process into it for me. The first conversations that I had with Anouk and Joanne, we really were discussing about the darkness and about being able to access that in a really safe way, because that's part of it. You know, not to sound too much like a sort of a wanky actor, the part of the journey of getting into character and getting into a space where you can inhabit those dark thoughts within a character, that's a scary and kind of worrying thing to approach. And so whenever we started that journey, it was a sort of a month out from day one of shooting. So it was kind of like, okay, all right, I've got time to run up and time to think about it. And we exchanged a bunch of thoughts and exchanged a bunch of emails, and then we had a week together beforehand, really prepping the character and really getting into it. And then once you're in the flow of it, it kind of it happens. It's like with everything. It's like being a chef. You prep everything. That's where the time is taken the most. The time is taken in prepping the steak. It's not in cooking the steak. The time is taken. So you go, well, I'm taking loads of time to age it, to make it, to marinate it, to make it brilliant. And then you're there in the moment and it's happening and it's coming out of you in a way. And you just have to be in the right mind and the right headspace and the right emotional space to access that in a safe way. It was also a thing at the, saying it sort of at the end of the day, it took me a moment to get back into sort of being, me again. And I'd be in and out of me all day. I'd be like, hey, joking around, having a lovely time, and then we'd be into a really dark scene. But that for me helped to keep me. But it was a psychologically quite draining thing. For essentially a month, I just had nightmares about seeing the faces of all these people that I'd murdered throughout the day. How does your subconscious work with that? I mean, I feel terrible for my partner who came out and stayed with me during that period. She was like, this is a nightmare for me, sleeping beside you whenever you're screaming every night. And I was like, but it's really lovely having you here.
Oh my, hey, every good horror film needs a killer like Halloween with Michael Myers, and the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, well, that was actually one of the references that Yuan was always wanting to give. He was like, I want it to be a Mike Myers. I want it to be that kind of dark character that has this thing that just draws them towards that death and draws them towards that gore. And we wanted to fight that instinct in many ways as well. We wanted to show him as someone who is trying at certain points to resist it, but then whenever he gives in, oh, does he give in? He's like, I'm ready to go now. You've unlocked this beast inside me, and it isn't going back in. There's no way you can stop this from getting out. So yes, that was part of the journey we tried to create. And thanks to all of the rest of the cast, they really supported me, and being such wonderful actors, they were so easy to get into character with. What they were giving me, you're able to give back. If they're giving you 100%, you're like, oh, I don't need to. I'm not pulling this ship. We're all in it together, and we're all sailing together. So I owe it to all these guys, that performance.
And the next question is for the rest of the cast. Like, I mean, you all basically played the prey, and like when you first see everyone, like they're going into the store, they're they're doing a cause, and they had no clue like all this stuff was gonna happen. Like it happened so quick, and the fear on your face is like the screams, like everything looked so real. Like how did you get ready to play like those kind of roles with the real fear on your faces?
I think it's really hard.
Oh,
Sorry.
so you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
I think it's almost a hard thing to prepare. It just has to kind of. I remember I was trying to prep it and study and this and that, but then once you're in there on set and you have the situation, you have the scene right before, and then you have Turla that's so amazing at switching from being the nice guy he is to this, very scary man. So it's very just like it just happens, and then it's a take after take after take. It just it comes instinctively. It's like And then once you're doing it for days and days, it's just fear becomes your like number one emotion. Your body knows it. It just happens, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Tala was really scary. I mean, there'd be times in between takes when it would be quite an intense scene, and I'd ask Tala to kind of do the Kevin on me, basically grab me like that and scare the living daylights out of me. But also, I find it, when you're there, you're in it, and especially on the set, it was dark on the set a lot of the times. That was easy to kind of feel that horror sort of vibe. But I would do a lot of like press ups and jumping jacks and stuff just to get my heart rate elevated, and then kind of go into the scene and then use that, and try and have that drive the fear, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like our first day of shoot with Alessia. It
Mhm.
was a very intense scene, and so we were kind of like rehearsing it, and rehearsing the movements and stuff, and then we're about to shoot, and then I just kind of turn around, and I see for the first time Turla like completely painted in black, and we were in the dark, so I could barely see him, and that just actually scared me. And
Oh
I was
my
like, okay,
God.
so this is setting the scene for what it's gonna be for the next 5 weeks, okay? And yeah, I mean, he really helps us out, and also, as Tom said, you kind of like do, because you have like, it's 12-hour days, so there's points where you kind of also do stuff where you just like run around to get your heartbeat going, and just like kind of get into that, because obviously like you have to go from waiting for the camera and for the crew to set up and everything, from just like sitting around to full like adrenaline running, being scared, like that kind of like up and down the whole day. And yeah, that was kind of what it was for like 5 weeks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a question about like also your own personal acting method. But I think I went into the shoot thinking, oh my God, I'm doing a horror feature. You always hear that shooting horror films, it's like so much fun. Like you
Yeah.
always laugh. I don't know why, but that's always what I heard about shooting horror films. And it
Yep.
actually wasn't that. Like, yes, we had fun, especially when we were rehearsing like beforehand, but the mood on set was incredibly focused, which is
Okay.
maybe also because we had not that much time to shoot it. And maybe because Yuan and Anouk, just like in the combination of the two of them, they were very just focused. There was a lot to get through. They had high expectations, like they knew exactly what everything was supposed to look like. And so that sort of, there wasn't any time to, not to like, yes, to mess up, yes, but like not to, you were just taking it so seriously because everyone was in this artistic venture together.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, but I remember it really also affected me. Like we shot the scene, Turla and I, for like maybe a day or two with my like where I died. And I remember in prosthetics, like afterwards in hair and makeup, when they were taking off everything, that takes a little while, and I was sort of coming down and the adrenaline was leaving my body. And I was crying the entire time that they were taking off the prosthetics that night.
Oh my God.
And then Raquel, like our amazing prosthetics person, she kept asking me, she was like, oh my God, am I hurting you? Am I hurting you? And I'm like, no, but I also couldn't answer what was going on. And I think it was just like the after effect of like being attacked for so long, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just
Oh
an
no. Yeah,
insane,
definitely.
it was so physical. Your entire body was always in it. And so you were just scared.
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember when we got back from the shoot, like I just hibernated in my room for 3 days. Like I just slept and ate and I didn't see anyone, because during the shoot you're just like on adrenaline the whole time, Sue. I feel like you don't realize, and you're just like, oh, it's so fun, and we're shooting and it's all great. And then I just got back home, and also because it's like 12-hour days, so you also don't sleep that much. And so I just got back home and I just hibernated for like 3 full days.
Well, you're intentionally shooting fear through your body for like multiple weeks. So there has to be sort of some physical effect that comes from that.
Yeah, I remember we would shoot like, a scene where we had to run or scream for
Mhm.
the whole day. And then I remember going to sleep after shooting and I could hear my heartbeat. Like I could hear it still beating like
Oh
super
my
fast, and I
God.
couldn't go to sleep because, you're the adrenaline that, you switch off after working and you forget about it. And then you see that your body is like reacting to it still. That was pretty amazing, actually. Kind of a
Turtle,
weird
it's-
feeling.
Turtle
It's
looks
a kind of
shocked.
weird feeling.
Yeah.
We never told you any of this, Turtle. I'm sorry.
I knew you were all going through it. I knew you were. I had my own process. I came home and had a beer and played Crusader Kings 3 on my Xbox. So like I was there
Whatever
pretending to be
works
a
for you.
medieval like lord in a role-playing game. Like this isn't my reality. So but it's amazing. You'll put so much work into it, and yeah, I think it hopefully it shows.
I know we're
Oh,
always
yeah,
talking
it
about.
definitely
I had a blast. It was like a piece of cake. No. Um, I mean, I feel like also like specifically with Ethan because he's like this leader of the pack and goes in with such confidence, like you literally think that like, this is their territory that they can like mark up, and then being confronted with like the sudden death, like I said before, like the 0 to 100, like goes like
Mhm.
this. It's just something that he had to like reconcile with, and I feel like that kind of translated with me physically as well. That yeah, just suddenly going from just like walking around like this is your turf to just like seeing like all the horror around you. It just like creeps up on you, and then yeah, like you said, I feel like it came out in like some sort of like fatigue when you'd go home. But then I'd be like with these guys and you go like for dinner and it's like actually kind of nice. You're
Yeah.
like you're all just sitting there like reflecting what you've done that day and you still have like blood underneath your fingernails. And then you're just like, huh, right. So this is what we're gonna be doing again tomorrow.
It was certainly unique in that sort of sense of like there wasn't that many days where in comparison with other jobs you kind of have a day where you're like, oh, this is a big set piece day where we're doing this thing and we're all on set but we're kind of stood around and they'll eventually get a camera around to us at 2 p.m. at some point for our reaction shot to whatever, and you'd be like, okay, and react, and and then they go, okay, great, moving on. There was none of that. Every day that you were on, there was something important that was happening to your character. And I think that was also the thing. That's what kept us going, and kept us constantly, kind of in that sort of engine room of the piece, which was really exciting and a really fun thing to have done.
Yeah, I think we're such like an ensemble cast that it's just always like you really feed off each other and each other's fear
Mhm.
and each other's emotions and each other, because we're always shooting together and it's rarely just like one character or two characters. It's just always like this constant, feed up each other, and I think that really helped as well.
Okay. I think I got time for one more question. I'll just ask like one last question so I don't go over any time. But there's a lot of brutal kills in this movie, and out of all the kills, like which one do you think was the most brutal? Like this is for everyone.
Um, I'll go first. The one at the very end, and I'll just leave that out there for you to figure out on your own. The one at the very end.
Um, I think what happens to Charlie's character is really brutal and horrible. I mean, it's so visceral, and obviously I was on
Mhm.
set because I'm in that scene, seeing it happen. It was like a really horrible thing to watch. So for me, that's the most brutal one. Like Charlie was a champ, you know what I mean? She really sold it. It looked amazing, and it looks great on screen. So for me, that's the most brutal kill. Can we say that? Is that a spoiler? But yeah.
Interesting. I think the most brutal, and because it's the most prolonged, is Grace's. Because you think she's dead, but then she's not, and she has to sort of survive for another 30 minutes. And you're like, oh my God, that poor girl. She's like just you can feel her suffering for so long. Whereas with the other ones, it's just a bit kinder in the sense that it's just quicker.
True, true.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I feel like my death was the most brutal. It's probably also because I lived through it, but it's just like the repeated like with the meat grinder, like it's like over and over, and it's like okay, we get it. Like now you're just like overkill. Um, but I feel like that, yeah, it's just like also with the open cracked skull and like the brains coming out. It's just
Do you
so
agree with that? Like the
disgusting.
sound they did like such like sound
Yeah.
design on that it's you're just like they're like, oh my god, like you really like, even though it's in the dark, you really feel that one. Like I completely agree.
Yeah, and it's like there comes a point where you're like, okay, we get it, he's dead, and he's still just like, yeah, I feel like that's the most brutal. But my favorite one is one that you don't actually like see. I feel like my favorite one is Kareem's because of the way it happens with the whole glow in the dark situation, and you just see his body there, and I'm walking towards him, and he's just like yanked away. I just think it looks so amazing. It's like my favorite.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Benny. I appreciate that.
Just being honest here.
Yeah.
I think you know, I make a slight jest at the last one being the cruelest, and it might be the cruelest, but I have to say the brutality on all of them from the person doing it is it's pretty horrible. All of them.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah.
don't think you know, from being on the other side and you know seeing one's own hands doing those things to someone else is quite an odd experience. And one that stays with you for a while.
Oh, I'm sure.
A big spoiler, but like, for example, with Turla, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this if it's a huge spoiler or not, but like when I stab you in the eye and we just like stare each other in the eyes and we really have that moment, that was just like so intense and so like, because it's like so many feelings at the same time of like, I finally got my revenge, I can finally escape. It's like happy but sad, but also I just killed someone, but also, and it's just all of that at the same time. But also the fact that it wasn't just like in the back or something. It was really like we were looking at each other's eyes when it happened, and that was just like so intense.
Yeah, that was very intense. Yeah, and also that prosthetic was great, but it was hilarious. It was leaking in the other side,
Oh my
so there
God,
was a
yeah.
certain
Oh
point
my God.
where I was like, I'm actually going blind in this eye right
Yeah.
now. This is not even a
Like,
joke.
because you were
And Raquel was so good. She's like, I'll take it off. And I was like, no, if you take it off, we're gonna have to do a whole thing, and they're gonna have to try and figure out another day. Let's just keep going. Let's get this thing in my eye.
Oh my God.
Well, I think also there's a really great underrated one. It's Jack's death. I think is quite quite
Yeah.
spicy. That one is a part two. That one's got part two. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Part
but,
one
you
and
know.
part
He's like,
two.
that one's the
Yeah,
part
that
two.
one's great and very unpredictable
so
one.
much.
So that's probably my favorite. Yeah.
I know Jack gets really effed up throughout this entire
Yeah.
thing. I mean, he does not have a good time.
Like,
No.
It's like every scene from a certain point, he's just getting worse.
It's true. Everybody at least has one moment of a little bit of happiness throughout the movie. Nope.
I know, yeah, but yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's actually kind of that's fun.
And where can fans follow everybody at?
On the line, on the Insta line. I'm not very good at this.
Yeah, for me,
Send me a letter via pigeon post, and I'll get back to you.
for me, it's Instagram. It's my nickname is Charlie. All my friends call me Charlie, so it's Charlie Stoiber.
Yeah, for me it's as well. It I'm only on Instagram. It's Benny O Arthur, just together.
Yeah, for me, only Instagram as well. Tom Gould 03 on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram as well. JA.Moore.
For me, also Instagram. It's Awesia with my name Alessia with a W. Awesia.
And I'm on Pigeongram at Comfrey_Turla.
And then I
Follow
feel
me
like
on
we
there.
should I feel like we should also mention Kyle, who's not here. He's also on Instagram. I don't know his handle, but I'm sure it's Kyle Scudder in some capacity.
Okay.
And Aiden. I also don't know.
Yeah, Aiden O'Hare 16. I remember that one.
Oh,
Whoa.
damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Good one.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. It was very nice meeting everyone, and definitely the people should check out this film. It's a really good horror film, and if people love slasher films, like especially old '80s slashers, it definitely has that vibe.
Shout
Nice.
out
Thank
to
you
you,
for
Thank
Mark.
you,
having
man.
us.
Thank you so much, man.
Definitely. Have a great day, guys.
You
You
too.
You too,
Same
man.
to you.
Bye bye.